Okay, let's go deep on this one. There's a concept known as priming that I'm a huge fan of. And what priming is, and it sounds sort of it's one of those things that's easy to understand and harder to master. So we're gonna throw it out there and then we're gonna try to put it to use. But essentially what priming is doing is activating these mental schemas in someone's brain. So what ends up happening is like our brains are messy, complicated place. There's a lot of stuff that we have to filter and process and all of that. So we sort of group and categorize different things together in these schemas. And what ends up happening is we have a schema for mother. Could be loving, caring, kind, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or it could be the opposite, depending on whose schema is. We have schemas for this and for that, or whatever it is. So the thing is that as marketers, if we can activate certain schemas within someone using visual images, using words more often than not, we can actually elicit certain behaviors and certain actions. So an example is, went to dinner with a friend and we're looking over the menu and they're like, hey, you've got to try this dish. It's like the greatest thing they serve at this restaurant, but it was an eggplant dish, and I hate eggplant. I hate eggplant. It's the worst thing. It's slimy and gushy. It's gross. It's called eggplant. Like nothing about it is appealing. But they're like, look, it's good. Just trust me. You got to try it. So I ordered it. Sure enough, it was literally probably one of the best things I've ever eaten. Like it was amazing. So what just happened is by telling you this simple story about how a friend influenced me, I've now activated a schema of being more open-minded, of being adventurous, of being more willing to take risks, and having them pay off positively. So now what happens is I can make an offer and you're going to be more open to that. It's the same way that if I start talking about words like, they did a study actually on this exact thing, and they started using words like seniors and retirement and bingo and Florida, and all of these words typically associated with elderly people. And then they measured the speed with which the people left the study area, and it was physically slower than those who were primed with more neutral terms. So it impacts us, and it does it automatically, it does it subconsciously, it does it all the time. So I'm very cautious and aware of the words that I'm using when I'm trying to put together marketing copy or sales copy or any kind of presentation, so that I'm never activating the wrong schema, and I'm always trying to design sort of the right attitudes and opinions and beliefs and making someone more receptive to the message.
And you'd have to appeal to a wider set of schema because everyone's an individual. So some people may have adverse reactions to certain things, but you're playing the numbers game. Yeah.
That's it again. Well, sort of yes and sort of no, right? Because again, if you know your market really well, you're going to know, and again, like let's take a subculture. Well, we know that certain terms or certain jargon or tech talk or insider language is going to evoke certain feelings and other ones aren't. So there are exceptions, obviously, but normally, I mean, again, in marketing, we use stereotypes more often than we probably should, but that's because typically if we follow a stereotype and typically people have a good experience with their moms. So we can probably use a decent one there. And people typically have an experience of elderly people moving slower. Are there exceptions? Of course, but like that's the schema that we can use. So we can use these sort of broad guidelines, and we're right more often than we're wrong.